A QRP loop antenna from AliExpress. Unboxing, first look, assembly and tests. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So, just had a package arrive and got to see what's in that. So, going to open it up and we're going to have a look. Because I know what it is and I know what I'm expecting. It was supposed to arrive yesterday, as the time of filming this. It was supposed to arrive on the Monday, not the Tuesday. So I've had to stop doing Uber Eats whilst I unpack this and, well, wait for it, really, to arrive, mainly. But I'm here, so I might as well start the filming for this now and could finish it off later on. So let's see what's in the packaging. Okay, so we're at my dining table, which is a bit cluttered due to other little projects and experiments and repair jobs that are ongoing. So that's why it's a bit cluttered. So let's get the outer packaging of this off first. Now, I've got these. I got loads of these from a time working at Amazon. So I worked there for about 7 months. So that's got a nice hole to get into the box inside, which might be sealed up with tape, I don't know. This has come from China. I bought this on AliExpress. If you can hear the rustling, I do apologise about that. But I am using the baseball cap mounted lapel mic. So, yep, so we've got a box. I'm just checking to see if it's taped up in any way. It doesn't look like it is, but there's stuff rattling around inside. So let's pop this open without walloping the microphone. That'll be the transmitter, won't it? Yeah. So here we go. This is what we got. So it's supposed to be a loop antenna, which the antenna part is formed from this rather beefy looking coaxial cable. It is supposed to be, I have no idea what it's supposed to be. It looks like some sort of like helix or something, but I don't know. Don't know, to be honest. So one of those connectors, I'm guessing, it's not connected how you would expect it. I'm going to meter that out later. So we've got that. Got this matching unit here. And this little box here, which is supposed to somehow connect to that. So you've got the two SO239s on there for that big loop. And there's a BNC connector, which I believe this connects to. And then you connect your coax to that. So basically two tuning capacitors, I'm guessing, or a capacitor and an inductor. I'm not actually 100% sure, so you can zoom in on, or focus on that rather, then yeah. That's probably some sort of matching, no idea. And it also comes with, well, I think this is RG, yes it is, it's RG174. Like that's any good. Let me see if I can focus on that. Yes, it comes with a spool of RG174, although to be honest, I wouldn't use that. It's not really ideal, but it should be fine at HF, which is what this thing's for. And we've also got two little angle adapters. These are BNC male to BNC female, both of them. And there's also another adapter here as well, which I've got one of these, I think, somewhere. I'm not sure. It's an SMA male. Let's focus if we can. It's not letting me focus on that. Let's see if I can actually focus on that. There we go. So it's an SMA male to a BNC female. So that would actually have some use with my RTL SDR, which, focus back down there, which has a female SMA on it. So basically I could convert that to BNC quick enough. In fact, it would work with most of my radios. So those adapters will go in the bag. So going to go find a multimeter. And we're going to see how this big chunky coax is wired up. So I'll just pause the video while I go and find that. Right, so I've brought in my yellow multimeter. I call it the yellow multimeter. It's black actually if you take that yellow sleeve off. It's a cheaper multimeter than my Unity UT58C, I think it is. That meter's actually progressively starting to fail a bit, so I'm probably in the market for a new good meter. So, as long as the wiring hasn't come adrift on the crop clip there, that's fine. So let's see how this is actually connected up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to test from the centre pin here to the outer. Getting nothing there, getting nothing there. Okay, so it's continuous through the centre to centre. Outer to outer, I'm expecting it to be broken. Ooh. Try that again. Okay, so... see the problem? What's happened there is the crocodile clip has actually come off the red probe, but that's not a problem. I can put that back on. So that's matched. So that's matched obviously with something. But I'm not sure how that's going to work. So it's connected at both ends on both of those. So this is supposed to be like the main loop element. So I'm going to cut off those cable ties. So we know it's continuity through. Oops, try not to vault the tripod. So I know it's continuity through the inner and the outer on this. So I'm not actually sure where it breaks it. So let's find out, shall we? How this goes together. And see if it doesn't read continuity through the whole thing eventually. I'm sure it won't, but I don't know how it matches. But we'll find out eventually, apart from that matching box with the two little knobs on it. So I'm going to try and assemble this. That's what I'm going to do. So let's see if I can put it together. Okay, so I'm now going to try and assemble this. So I'm just going to be careful here that I don't lose my microphone. You can probably see me wearing a hat. I'm not sure, to be honest, what you can see. So I need a pair of snips, which I've buried under the box the thing came in. Not a good start. So first things first, I need to snip these cable ties. I could have used reusable cable ties. That would have been quite nice, but... Right, I cut those cable ties off, so I'll just remove that from in there. We'll be needing that shortly. Whoa! That was actually pretty much spring-loaded. And it's kind of formed itself into a bit of a coil here. So I've now got to try and unkink that, if I can. Yeah, there we go. So I can form it into some kind of loop for this thing. So, because it's been in a coil for quite some time, it's probably not going to work very well. And it looks like it's very stiff coax. So I'm going to connect one side onto that. Like that. I mean, this is not exactly the most difficult thing. There we go. And the other side can go on here like that. Let's see if I can make it look more like a loop without causing it any damage. Yeah, that looks loopified, I think. Good, good enough. Good enough to be deployed quickly. Got this little toggle switch on it. Now this thing's supposed to work, I think, from about 80 meters all the way up to about 10, so I might try it on a CB at some point. Might be worth doing. So I have a sneaky suspicion that in order to connect this box, you have to put it onto the adapter like that. So that's now on that adapter, and then the coax goes on that. So this thing can be mounted on a tripod, so I'm going to go get one. Not the one I'm actually using for the camera, but I'm going to go get a tripod. And I've now got the microphone cable stuck underneath the... There, that's brilliant, isn't it? So I'm going to go get a tripod. I'm going to try mounting it to a tripod, hopefully. So you can see it there, assembled pretty quickly. Hopefully that will stand on a tripod. They say it's QRP, but, you know, I don't really buy that too much. I'm not sure how much power you could put through it. They say 20 watts. That's not QRP. QRP to me is 5. So I'm going to go get a tripod. Okay, so here we've got my original tripod that I used to use, because I now use a Prima Photo Gear tripod instead of this one, which I bought that one that you're looking at for about £10, I think it was, from Tesco many moons ago. And it's done me well. The top bit's glued on, so, you know, not going to work well. So, according to the pictures I've seen on AliExpress for this thing, it can be mounted on top of a tripod. This is a tripod. Not a particularly big tripod, but it's a tripod nonetheless. It's not also a very good tripod because it's slightly broken. So, what I'm going to try and do, hopefully without losing my battery pack for my radio microphone, because that... Oh, yeah, I've just noticed what I've done there. There we go. So there's bits of all sorts on this carpet. Plastic bits from things I've bought recently. I bought a couple of things from Lidl recently, which might prove useful in electronics and radio. So that's supposed to be the same sort of standard thread for a tripod. So I'm just going to pop these on the table because I need to remove this part of the tripod. And if this is too top heavy for this tripod, then obviously the tripod's going to fall over. So I'm just trying not to lose my microphone. So let's see. Now, if you've screwed a camera onto a tripod before, you'll know how this goes down. Right, so far, it seems to be taking into the... Oh! That's attached. That's now attached. So let's see. I'm just not going to wallop my microphone doing this. If I can put this back into the tripod. Not sure which way around it's going to go, but we're going to try. And there we go. It is in the tripod. And next thing to do is put not the spectrum analyzer, the vector network analyzer on it and see where it's currently resonant, if it's resonant at all. So that'll be the next part of the video, hopefully. Okay, so I've had a little fiddle with the tuning capacitor and the VNA. At the moment, if I can get this focus in the right place, that's currently about 6 megahertz, so that's not really useful for, well, for amateur radio use. Let's go back in. So it does seem to go into 40 meters, and it does seem to go into to the higher bands as well. So will it tune onto any of the frequencies within 27 megs? Because that's another bit I'm curious about. If this thing can actually take transmit power through it, can I transmit using a CB through it, which is not technically by the book, but there's nothing in the rules saying that I can't do that anymore. So this is spanning 1 to 30 megs, not 3 to 30, because obviously I want to check that whole range just to see where the dips are. So I'm going to set this to, because it can do 10 meters allegedly, so I'm going to set it to 27,680 is the closest I'm going to get it. Can I get it to resonate there? Let's see. And it's very finicky tuning because you've got to watch for hand capacitance as well. That's not ideal, is it? And there's a red switch here which I think switches another capacitor in and out of circuit. So, not sure if you can see that, but we can certainly give it a go. Now I've just turned the top one to maximum, so that's probably not helpful. I might back off the top one a bit. Okay, so that's dropping that. By switching that extra capacitor in, that's increasing it. Okay, so I've got a dip there, but where is that dip? It's at 26,520 and it's not a good match there. So it looks like it works. But it doesn't look as though it's working on all the frequencies I want it to work. So I wonder whether it'll work without that matching box in there. So I'm going to try that and see what happens. So I've just set it back to, well, somewhere quite low. So this is with both the capacitors turned to the lowest, assuming those are capacitors or capacitor and inductor. I don't know how it's working. But I have a sneaky suspicion that switch is putting something in series. So that's currently about 8 megs. So it's within shortwave broadcast reception range. So seems okay. So I'm going to try something. Remove the matching box from the side if I can. There is a way of doing this. There we go. I'm going to try removing that matching box, which is going to not really help, I don't think. And I'm going to see if bypassing this will make it resonant on other bands. I don't know. I've never tried this before. This is all new to me. You're learning as I'm learning, so I'm going to have to put that down a minute while I see if it'll do that or not, as the case may be. There we go. That hasn't really changed anything. I shouldn't think. Yeah, that's not made much difference with that outer circuit, so... I'm guessing there's some frequencies it just simply will not do. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the air. It seems to be okay at 40. So put it on the air and see if it works. So I'm going to go get a radio. There's only one radio for the job. Let's go and grab it. Okay, so I've moved the antenna towards the back of the room, and what I've done is I've set the radio up for whisper on 14 megahertz, 20 meters. I've tuned the antenna using the VNA to get the more or less where I need to be. So, because it's going to be transmitting for about 120 seconds, I think. So I'm going to enable the transmitter on that. It's set to upload any spots, so that's okay. So I've now enabled the transmitter. So at the next cycle, the transmitter should engage. The transmitter is at 5 watts because I don't know how much of a beating this antenna is going to take. So we're just about to go into transmit now, assuming everything is configured correctly. So let's see. Okay, it hasn't done it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push TX next. And that should then transmit to the next one. It's been a while since I've used WSJTX. So let's see. So in less than 120 seconds, because that's how long the transmitter duration is for whisper. I'll just make sure that it's all good there, and that bottom box should say 5 watts. It looks like it does. The screen's a bit grubby, and also the screens look a bit weird in the back of it, so yeah, that's not too great. So let's see if it'll actually transmit anything. I'm not sure whether it's using the radio as the sound input device or not. It appears to be, but we'll see. Because I'm not receiving any decodes, but I have tuned that antenna as close to resonance as I possibly can. So, all being well, it should work. So, let's... yeah, I'm going to have to keep talking because I'm recording and I was expecting the radio to have gone into transmit. It hasn't. So I carted it all in from the shack because I didn't want to cart that antenna through to the shack. And I've turned off everything I can in here just to try and keep the noise down as far as that's concerned. And I might try that antenna outdoors, see if it works better. And on a taller tripod as well. So I think that tripod might be a bit too low to the floor for me. So should hopefully be going into transmit next time. And it'll stay in transmit for 120 seconds. That thing claims it'll take 20 watts through it. 5 watts is usually what QRP is. This radio will only go down as low as 5. So it's doing a decode now. Hasn't decoded anything. Here we go, transmitting. If I hear a loud bang from behind me and the SWR suddenly shoots up, then I know there's a problem. But so far so good. So 120 seconds of this. And then I'll pause the video while I open up the Whisper thing, website, whatever it is. So, the SWR, as recorded by the 991A, is, well, it's not registering. That's good news. So I've got a ferrite core on the USB cable I'm using. It's an HP USB cable. It came with my printer, actually. So that might help with some of the RF, or not, as the case may be. I'm not anywhere near that antenna because it's going to have a high voltage across it, and, you know, best not be near that if it's working the way I think it's working. But apparently it works for transmit because the SWR is, in fact, reading 0. I'll know if it flashes over because the SWR will shoot up. That's not a great thing. So I'm quite close to that, so, but it's just me here, so that's fine. I don't have any reason to believe the RF's going to get through the floor, because the floor's quite thick from what I understand, even though I can still hear crashes and bangs from flats below, but you know. Right. And we're there. And that's the transmit of Whisper on 14.0956. So I'm going to disable the transmit, and I'm going to bring up the Whisper map thing. Well, I can't remember the name of it, but it'll come back to me. So I'll just pause the video. Right, so I've had a look at the Whisper net, and, well, the map doesn't appear to be working for starters, I think. And I did a search and there's no spots so far, so I'm going to do it again. So I'll just pause the video so I've got both hands available. Okay, let's give it another go, see what happens. So, TX next. Hopefully it'll work. There we go. So another 120 seconds. You might be able to hear the washing machine in the background. I don't actually know, so I did have to put a laundry load on. What I've also done is I've rotated the antenna around so that it's flush with the wall just over to my which way am I? Left, just the left-hand wall. So basically, it's the sides of the antenna are basically lined up with a window and the door. Just to see if changing the antenna rotation would make any kind of difference. I don't know. We're currently transmitting the Whisper. Again on 20 meters. Again at 5 watts, which is the lowest this radio will go down to. So Whisper's a good test of an antenna, although I am inside a flat, which has probably got loads of metal in the walls as well as bricks and all sorts of other things that could cause a bit of a problem. But I've managed to get that antenna to tune all right, which is impressive. So, that'd be good for sitting out in the backyard, I think. So, right, I'm going to try it on 40 meters as well. So we'll tune it for that. And that'll probably be the last thing I'll be doing at present, because I do actually need to get myself back out to do Uber Eats deliveries at some point today. So, hopefully. Okay, transmitter's just dropped. and I will just check the thing again. So still no spots on that band, so I'm going to retune this for the 40 meter band. So I'll pause the video again while I do that. Right, switch to the 40 meter band now. The best compromise for whisper I could manage for the frequency to get the antenna matched was about 1.6 to 1, roughly on 7.040, which is as close enough as I'm going to get. So I've already told it to transmit at the next available interval. The antenna hasn't changed position, I've just retuned it slightly. And give this a couple of goes now, so hopefully with a bit of luck it will transmit okay. So it's all ready to go. Just waiting for the click, and I'll keep an eye on the SWR meter, and if the SWR is too high, I'll immediately stop the transmitter, because I can actually do that from here. So at the moment it's decoding. It stopped decoding, it didn't decode anything. It's now transmitting. SWR is, well, the VNA said it was 1.5 to 1. This is showing pretty much flat, so I think we should be okay. So it's a different band, so there'll be different characteristics, obviously. And we're just waiting patiently for it to do its thing. Which is about 120 seconds. So, whisper's a good way of telling the performance of an antenna, if you get spotted or not. However, because I'm indoors, it's probably not going to work as well as it would if I was outdoors. And also it's quite low to the floor in here, also quite close to a wall as well, which is not really helping. So we're doing okay. It's putting the power out. The SWR is fine. It's just sat there transmitting. It'll get a bit hot, so the fan will cut in as it does. So this is starting to turn into a bit of a video on whisper, but it actually isn't. This is more about whether that antenna works or not. It seems to work fine. It seems to match. It seems to be okay with transmit. So that's fine. That's the thing I needed to get through. And with a bit of luck, I should be able to get on HF with it. Now, it says it's rated to 20 watts, but I really don't want to push it. So, and I can't do that on Whisper anyway. Whisper's limited to 5 watts. That's the whole idea, is to use it for weak signal propagation reporting. So that's now done. I'm just waiting for it to finish the cycle, and I'll pause the video and see if I've been spotted. Okay, still showing 0 spots. That's not ideal. So, give it another go, I think. It's always worth doing it twice. Okay, so it's into the next transmit cycle that I've set it to do. And that obviously takes the 120 seconds. So, hopefully with a bit of luck, it'll hopefully be spotted this time. I don't know if it will. It may work better at night, because I think 80 meters is a good band at night, but I don't think that antenna will go to 80 meters. I think 40 meters should be better at night as well, so it's worth a try then. So, this will be my final try before I go back out and start my deliveries again. And ooh, my phone's ringing. 2 seconds. Okay, so apologies for that. That was a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine. So, had to take the call. As should be a lesson to me not to have my phone on while I'm recording videos, but you know, I'll do that anyway. So, I've got another transmit going. I've changed a few settings on the rig just in case they were wrong. they probably are still wrong, knowing me. So can't really change any of these options while the thing's transmitting. I just realised it is transmitting. So I'm not sure why it's not decoding either, but that's okay. Right, so it's nearly at the end of the transmit cycle now. And I'll try whisper on it again later on, when it gets dark, because band conditions can change when it's dark. Okay, so it's just got straight back into transmit. That's impressive. I didn't even tell it to do that. So disable the transmitter so that when it goes to next, it'll... Right, I'll see if I've been spotted. Just bear with me. And again, no spots, so I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Whether I've got something set wrong or what, I don't know. So I've got to wait for it to stop transmitting before I do anything else. Because I might have set the radio up completely wrong for all I know, and that's not exactly brilliant, is it? So you know, we'll get there. I'll figure out what's going on, whether it's a case of I've set the radio wrong or what, I don't know, for whisper. So, hopefully I haven't. Okay, so it should be the transmitter just gone down now. It has. Right, so let's bring up an SDR on my phone and I'll see if I can get anything else transmitted. So I'm going to stop the video for now. Okay, so I've opened these up and oh, my screen's lagging. That's interesting. So I've opened these up and what we've got inside, the box that goes on the side, is basically, if I bring it into shot and focus on that, is basically a choke or a balun. You can see how that's constructed. You'll have seen this in a short already. So I'm guessing the purpose of this is to create a good match, although I don't seem to think it does that, because when I tried it without this, it didn't really change much. So that's all that's in there. You could have put a bigger toroid in there and done a bigger choke for better power handling, and it could have been used on other antenna projects. Yes, I think it's either a choke or a balun. Very small toroid in reasonably large case. I'm not sure how waterproof these cases are. It looks like they're designed for external mounting, so they've got little mounting holes on the back here. So basically all it is BNC connector at one end, like that. That goes out to your radio. The BNC connector on the top, which goes to the BNC connector on the other bit, using this angle adapter here, which is BNC female to BNC male, because it's a BNC male connector that's on there. Or you could just connect it on like that, but I think that might put strain on it, so, you know, there's that. And then there's the tuning box. Now I thought the switch on the front was switching in another capacitor. I wasn't far wrong. So I'm just going to lift this up gently because it's kind of precarious with all the wires hanging out. So I open this up, and this is also in a short that you'll have already seen. I'm going to focus on that. There. So as you can see, the two tuning capacitors are basically what you'd find in a broadcast receiver. So basically all these are is they're like the you've got your two sections for AM and FM reception. So, and these preset adjustments on the back. So it looks like what they've done with the bottom one is, I'm guessing that's the FM section on the bottom one. I don't know, it's not usually easy to tell without measuring it with a capacitance meter, which I don't really have anything accurate enough to hand at the moment, and the capacitance meter I do have doesn't have any proper leads on it, which would have no capacitance of their own. So on this bottom one, these capacitor positions, these connection positions aren't used. I'm guessing that's the FM section, it's just the top two here that are used. So I've had a little look into what the terminals on these capacitors are. So it looks like, yeah, that one's actually got a marking on it. I'm seeing in the light there, C4. Yeah, there's C markings on them, but I'm not sure what each one of those means for its normal operation, which is probably why you can really put. I don't really think you should be putting 20 watts through this, but it seems to be alright. So at the top, we've got another identical one, but they've used the FM section as well, and it looks like what they've done is they've bridged the two terminals for the FM together, and the center pin on that goes through this switch over here, so that changes the capacitance. It's quite a heavy switch as well. And inside here, all it is just the two SO239s with the outer, the screen side, connected. The center pin isn't connected. It's just the screen. So these are just standard off-the-shelf components. So I could go into an electronics shop. Well, can't anymore actually, or somewhere, and I could just buy those components. That's easy enough to fix. And I'm not sure about the tuning capacitors though. Let's bring them back in. The switch I could probably replace. So once it's gone through all these capacitors, it then goes through the BNC output socket there. Again, I think this case might be a waterproof case, but I'm not sure how waterproof it is, because if you look at where the connectors are, it doesn't look as though they've gooped it up with any type of sealant or anything. I'd probably want to put some sealant or maybe some Vaseline in there or something, otherwise water's going to get in. Now, I think two of the screws on this side were glued, because when I tried to open it, they were very stiff and they kind of broke, but it doesn't stop it from screwing back shut again. So that's basically what's inside it, and inside those two boxes. So basically it's just made of off-the-shelf components for the most part. BNC connectors, there would be 3 of them. 2 female, 1 male. 2 tuning capacitors from a AM/FM receiver. A switch, and 2 chassis mount SO239s, the square type, which I prefer anyway because you can make ground plane antennas with those. So even if it fails and you can't really do much with it, it's still good for parts. So that's pretty much the construction of that. And then you've got this black thing in the bottom, which looks like it's screwed in from the inside, so that can be removed. So I think that's just screwed onto a bolt, which is then screwed onto this plastic thing, which then goes onto your tripod mount and then into your tripod, because I've kept the tripod mount on it. So it's cheaply made. It wasn't exactly expensive, and it does receive, sort of, but I don't think it does it very well in here. I'm going to have to try it outdoors, but obviously not during the winter months, so it'll probably be a future video. But I'm going to give it another try in here, and I will follow up with that. So that's basically this loop antenna. I haven't completely taken it to bits, but I've taken it to bits enough so I know what's inside it. So it's just on top of the 991A here, so I think it has potential, it has scope. I could probably use one of my really long bits of RG213 as a loop on that, but to be honest, I'm not sure how well that would work. And also, it's not as rigid as the stuff that was supplied for the loop part, which is looks like some kind of a hardline or heliax or stuff, yeah. Which can actually still be used as standard coax, because I've checked how it's wired, as you would have seen earlier in this video, and it's wired centre to centre, braid to braid, as you'd expect. It's the disconnect point is just in here, so that's where the loop's broken. So the inner conductor is not connected in any way. I suppose it could be, but I'm not sure what that would do. So I hope I can make some contact on it. It says 20 watts. I'm not confident about that with the fact it's using off-the-shelf tuning capacitors, because I don't know what the voltage rating of them is, and to be honest, the higher the voltage, the more likely they are going to flash over, and that's during transmit, and that's not ideal. So for the bands you would transmit with it on it, you'd use SSB anyway. So I'm going to get that put back together now, so I'll catch you in the next part of the video. Okay, so I've set the loop up by the window now, because I've decided I'll give WSPR another try. It seems to be working, actually. It's receiving and it's transmitting. So I can show you the receive bit. So I've just got to pan the camera down. So there's the loop there by the open window. I've just had a boiler engineer in, and he asked what I was doing, so I did try and explain it as best I could. And we've got the computer and the radio down here. You can't really see the screen on the radio, I don't think. No, it's because I've got the exposure locked. So I'm just going to unlock the exposure now. There we go. So there's the computer screen there. I'm going to try and zoom in on that. I'm not sure if I can. I might be able to. So let's move that down a bit and let's see if I can zoom in on that. There we go. I think they're testing the sirens on the mountain rescue vehicle, so if you can hear that, then that's what's going on. Bit annoying. So anyway, so it's only spotted two stations on 40 meters, but that's fine. I've got no problem with that. So, but I have had some results, and I will show you those in a moment. I'll have to zoom back out first. Okay, so here's my results so far. I think you might hear some wind noise because the wind started blowing into the open window, because I've had to obviously open the window to accommodate the loop working a bit better. So I don't think it works very well in the house with all the windows shut. So this is basically the results I have so far. There's only 3 stations there. One of which appears to be ON. I think that's Belgium off the top of my head. So that's not too bad. So it's been transmitting again. Let's just press F5 and see what happens. No, it's not letting me do that. Okay, so I'll go back to specify query parameters and redo that query. Like that. There we go. Yep, that's all it's really got there. So let's go back to the WSJTX window. And I'll just resume that there. We're back on the WSJTX window. And if we're looking at it, there's another ON station that I've managed to spot. So that actually does work. That's actually working. Not very well in here, I don't think, but it does work as a transmit antenna. It's the whole idea of WSPR, it's very weak signal, hence the WS part of the name. So that's quite impressive for an antenna that's going to be woefully inefficient. But it seems to work. I mean, I can't do any voice contacts in here because I'm receiving that much noise from electronics and stuff on that thing. It's not viable for voice communications in here. It's not ideal. I might try it outside and see if it works outside, because that'll be away from most of the noise. But that will have to wait until the nicer weather. So I'm actually pretty impressed. My hat's not straight. Anyway, I'll think we can conclude the video there, I think. I'm not going to try it on any other bands. This has given me a bit of an indication of 40 meters. And to tune it for other bands, it's going to take time. So I'll conclude the video at that. So next part of the video will be my conclusion on this cheap loop antenna from AliExpress. So to conclude, the loop antenna from AliExpress, it does appear to work. I can get it to tune on 40 meters. I think I tried it on 20. I can't remember. Probably did. If I did, I didn't. So it's been a while now since I played with it. Don't think I can get it down to 80, but that's no problem. I do have another loop in the shed for that, which is a lot bigger. And yeah, it seems okay. Quality, maybe not the best, as you expect from stuff from China. Says QRP in the listings, up to 20 watts. I'm a bit wary of putting 20 watts through it, because the capacitors, the tuning capacitors inside, are basically broadcast receiver ones. And it also came with them a long feeder made out of the thinnest coax you could possibly get, which is, I believe this is RG174, I think I said it was. It's a bit difficult to see, it is not very well lit in this room, and I've locked the exposure off next to the window there, so I'm going to have to put a torch onto this coax that I'm holding in my hand. You can't see that. Yeah, it's RG174, I really wouldn't want to use that. It's probably alright on HF, but it's not the sort of coax I'd use on a daily basis. It came with 3 RF adapters. Just a bit, need to come back close to the microphone there, I think. So it came with 3 RF adapters. It came with the 2 angle adapters for BNC, and it also came with, if I can get that in shot, there we go. This little BNC to, yeah, it's BNC female to SMA male adapter. So that's for attaching it to radios that have that sort of connector on, but that's actually useful to me anyway for other radios and my RTL SDR. Well, my good one, my Nuelec NE SDR Smart. So yeah, I'm going to play a bit further with it, and I'm going to try and test it outdoors when the weather gets a bit nicer. And I also have a leisure battery, because I don't actually have a leisure battery at the moment. And if I want to run the 991A outside, I'd have to use a leisure battery or a really long extension lead, like I did when I went out to have a go on 80 meters with that loop that I built some time ago. It's in the shed. So yeah, I hope this has been somewhat informative. I'm not sure if it has been, but you know, it was worth a purchase. Even if it doesn't quite work for transmit on every band it says it supposedly works for transmit on. So it doesn't work on 10 meters. I'm sure the listing said it did, but it doesn't. So because if it doesn't work on CB, it certainly is not going to work on 10 meters. Seems to max out at about 24 megs, which is about 12 meters. I think it might work on 60. I can't remember, but I will be trying these experiments with that loop in the future, because it just looks very interesting. I might get a more stable tripod for it, because the tripod it's on right now I've had for years, and it's the old tripod I used for filming stuff for the channel, and well, it's a bit broken and a bit flimsy, so could use something more stable to be on. So hopefully when the weather gets nice, I'll be able to go out and play about with it, or because I'm not sure the boxes that have the
balun choke thing in and the tuning capacitors in are waterproof in any way, because there's no waterproofing around the connectors, as you saw earlier. So, Paul, Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres and PMR 446, or just a red squirrel on CB and PMR 446 if you like. So, it's took me a while to make this video because a lot's gone on in the time I started to the time I finished. I've got a little bit of spare time at the moment because I am waiting for my dearest to get in touch with me or wake up, because well, my dearest is still in Florida with the in-laws at the moment, so there's about a 5-hour time difference, which is very annoying. but we're working on it. We're working on it. So, 7-3 for now, and I'll catch you in the next video.